The Three Kingdoms period in China, from 220 to 80 AD, was dominated by three states, Xiao Wei, Shuhan, and Eastern Wu.
This era came after the Han Dynasty ended and was followed by the Western Jin Dynasty.
The Three Kingdoms period officially began in 220 with the establishment of Xiao Wei, and ended in 280 when the Jin Dynasty conquered Wu. Before the Three Kingdoms, from 184 to 220, China was in chaos as warlords fought for power due to the weakening of the Han authority. From 220 to 263, there was a relatively stable balance of power between the three kingdoms. However, this stability started to break down when Xiao Wei conquered Shu in 263. Shortly after, in 266, the Jin dynasty took over Xiao Wei, and by 280, Jin had also conquered Wu, bringing the Three Kingdoms period to an end. The Three Kingdoms period, including the collapse of the Han dynasty, is one of the bloodiest times in Chinese history. After the Jin dynasty reunited the three kingdoms into 80 AD, a nationwide census was taken.
This census reported 2,459,840 households and 16,163,863 individuals, a drastic decline from the Han era, which had 10,677,960 households and 56,486,856 individuals.
Although the accuracy of the census might have been affected by various factors, the Jin dynasty made a serious effort to account for everyone. Despite the turmoil, significant technological advancements occurred during this period.
Zhu Zhiliang, the Chancellor of Shu, invented the wooden ox, which may have been an early version of the wheelbarrow, and improved the repeating crossbow. Ma Jun, a mechanical engineer from Wei, is often compared to the renowned inventor Zhang Heng. Ma Jun created a hydraulic-powered mechanical puppet theater for the Emperor of Wei, developed square pallet chain pumps for irrigation in Luowan, and designed the south-pointing chariot, a non-magnetic directional compass using differential gears.
The key historical record of this era is records of the Three Kingdoms by Chen Shou, written around 290 AD, with later annotations by Pierre Songji in 429 AD.
Although the Three Kingdoms period was relatively short, it has been romanticized in Chinese culture through folklore, opera, novels, films, television, and video games.
The most famous fictional adaptation is Romance of the Three Kingdoms, a historical novel written during the Ming Dynasty by Luo Guanzhong. After the death of Emperor He in 105 AD, the power of the Eastern Han Dynasty gradually declined due to political and economic issues.
Several young emperors ascended the throne, but real power often lay with their older relatives.
When these emperors grew older and tried to take control, they had to form alliances with senior officials and eunuchs to wrest power from their relatives. This constant struggle between imperial relatives and eunuchs led to ongoing political infighting. During the reigns of Emperor Huan 146168 and Emperor Ling 168189, tensions between leading officials and eunuchs peaked. Officials grew increasingly dissatisfied with the eunuchs' control, and many openly protested.
However, these protests were met with harsh retaliation, as the eunuchs convinced the emperor to execute many of the protesting scholars. In this oppressive environment, local rulers began to seize more control over their regions, while fear and oppression spread throughout the country. The reigns of Emperors Huang and Ling were marked by political mismanagement and oppression, along with several natural disasters and local rebellions.
In March 184 AD, Zhang Zhao, leader of the Taoist movement known as the Way of Supreme Peace, along with his brothers Zhang Liang and Zhang Biao, led a large-scale rebellion against the government called the Yellow Turban Rebellion.
The movement quickly gained support, amassing several 100,000 followers from various parts of China.
They established 36 bases across the country, with larger bases hosting over 10,000 followers and smaller ones having 6,000 to 7,000 members, resembling the size of Han armies.
Their motto was, "The grey sky has perished, the yellow sky will soon rise. In this year of Jiazi, let there be prosperity in the world." Emperor Ling responded by dispatching generals Huang Fusong, Liu Ji, and Xu Jun to lead the Han armies against the rebels and ordered local governments to provide soldiers. This marks the beginning of the historical novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Although the Yellow Turbans were eventually defeated, many of their followers survived as bandits, continuing to cause unrest across the empire. As banditry spread, the Han army struggled to defend against the numerous raiding parties.
In 188 AD, Emperor Ling accepted a proposal from Liu Yan to grant local governors direct administrative power over their provinces and command of regional military forces. This move made provinces official administrative units, giving governors the power to combat rebellions. However, the internal chaos within the government allowed these governors to rule independently of the central authority. Liu Yan, promoted to governor of Yi province covering the Sichuan Basin, soon severed ties with the Han imperial court, leading other regions to follow suit. In the same year that Emperor Ling died, a new power struggle erupted within the imperial court as eunuchs vied for control over the imperial family. One of the court eunuchs, Jian Shuo, plotted to assassinate Regent Marshal He Jin, a powerful relative of the imperial family, and planned to replace the Crown Prince Yu Baiyan with his younger brother Yu Exai, the Prince of Chenliu. However, this plan failed, and Yu Baiyan ascended to the throne as Emperor Shao. He Jin, seeing the growing power of the eunuchs, conspired with warlord Yuan Shao to eliminate the 10 attendants, a group of 12 influential eunuchs led by Shang Rang who held significant control over the imperial court. To strengthen his position, He Jin called on Dong Shuo, a frontier general stationed in Liang province, and Ding Yuan, the inspector of Bing province, to bring their troops to the capital, Luowan. However, the eunuchs discovered He Jin's plot and assassinated him before Dong Shuo could arrive. In response, Yuan Shai's forces stormed the palace, killing the 10 attendants and about 2,000 of their supporters. While this massacre ended the long-standing conflict between the eunuchs and the imperial family, it also led to Dong Shuo's arrival at the outskirts of Luowan from China's northwest border. On the evening of September 24, 189 AD, General Dong Shuo observed Luowan in flames, a result of the ongoing power struggle between the eunuchs and the civil service. Seizing the opportunity, Dong Shuo marched his army into the capital, taking control of the government. On September 28th, Dong Shuo deposed Emperor Shao Liu Baiyan and installed Yu Exai as the new emperor, known as Emperor Xian. In the weeks that followed, rebellions erupted across China. In East China, a large coalition of leaders, including Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu, and Cao Cao, began to rise against Dong Shuo in an effort to restore the power of the Han dynasty. Many provincial officials felt compelled to join the coalition or face the risk of being eliminated. In 191 AD, Sun Jian, a subordinate of Yuan Shu, led an army against Dong Shuo and drove him from Luowan to Chang'an. The following year, Dong Shuo was assassinated by his former bodyguard, Lbu. According to legend, Dong Shuo's body was thrown into the street with a lit wick placed in his navel, which burned brightly like the sun for days. In 192 AD, there was some discussion within the coalition of warlords about appointing Yu Yu, an imperial relative, as the new emperor. However, as time passed, the coalition members began to drift apart. Most of the warlords were more interested in expanding their personal military power during this time of instability, rather than genuinely restoring the Han dynasty's authority. The Han Empire became divided among various regional warlords, leading to chaos and warfare, particularly in the North China Plain. Emperor Xian was eventually captured and passed between different warlords in Chang'an. Dong Shuo, who had become overconfident in his power, was betrayed and killed by his follower Lbu, who conspired with the minister Wang Yun. However, Lbu's success was short-lived as he was soon attacked by Dong Shuo's former officers Li Ju, Guo Si, Shang Ji, and Fan Shu. Wang Yun and his entire family were executed. Lbu fled to the northern warlord Zhang Yang and later briefly joined Yuan Shao, but his independent nature made it difficult for him to serve under another leader. Yuan Shao, operating from Yi City in Ji province, expanded his influence north of the Yellow River. He replaced Han Fu, the former governor of Ji province, with himself. Meanwhile, between the Yellow and Hui rivers, conflict erupted among Yuan Shu, Cao Cao, Tao Qian, governor of Shu province, and Lbu. In 192, Cao Cao forced the Yellow Turbans to surrender. He then drove Yuan Shu south of the Hui River in 193, inflicted heavy losses on Tao Qian in 194, and received the surrender of Liu Bei, who was then a commander under Tao Qian, in 196. By 198, Cao Cao captured and executed Lbu, gaining control over the southern part of the North China Plain. In the northeast, Gongsan Diyu established control over the Liaodong Peninsula and surrounding areas, creating a semi-independent state. He was succeeded by his son Gongsun Kang in 204. Across the northern frontier, the region descended into chaos after the fall of imperial control, with the Xiongnu remnants clashing with the Xianbei.
Warlord Gongsun Khan invaded Goguryeo in 204, creating the Daifang Commandery. In 209, he invaded Goguryeo again, capturing its capital and forcing them to submit, leading Goguryeo to move its capital further east.
In Liang Province, present-day Gansu, a rebellion had begun in 184.
In the west, Liu Yan, appointed governor of Yi Province in 188, was succeeded by his son Liu Zhang in 194. To the north of Liu Zhang's territory, Zhang Lu led a theocratic government in Hanzhong Commandery on the upper Han River, representing the 5 pecks of rice movement. Liu Biao controlled Jing Province, while Sun Quan held power over the Lower Yangtze region.
In 194 AD, Xiao Xiao went to war with Tao Qian, the governor of Shu Province, after Tao's subordinate Xiang Kai murdered Xiao Xiao's father, Xiao Song. Despite Tao Qian receiving support from Liu Bei and Gongsun Zan, Xiao Xiao's forces appeared poised to overrun Shu Province. However, Xiao Xiao soon received news that LBU had seized control of Yan Province in his absence. This forced Xiao Xiao to retreat from Shu Province, temporarily ending his conflict with Tao Qian.
Later that year, Tao Qian died and passed control of Shu Province to Liu Bi. In 195 AD, Xiao Xiao managed to drive LBU out of Yan Province. LBU fled to Shu Province, where Liu Bei reluctantly received him, leading to an uneasy alliance between the two.
However, LBU eventually betrayed Liu Bei and seized control of Shu Province, aligning himself with the remnants of Yuan Shu's forces. Liu Bei, along with his loyal followers Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, fled to Xiao Xiao, who welcomed them.
Xiao Xiao and Liu Bei then prepared to launch an attack on LBU. Their combined forces invaded Shu Province, where Elba's men began deserting him. Yuan Shu's promised reinforcements never arrived, leaving LBU isolated.
Ultimately, LBU was captured by his own subordinates, who tied him up and handed him over to Xiao Xiao.
Following Xiao Xiao's orders, LBU was executed.
After being driven south in 193 AD, Yuan Shu established his new capital at Shushun in present-day Anhui. From there, he made attempts to regain the territory he had lost north of the Hui River.
In 197 AD, Yuan Shu made a bold and ill-advised move by declaring himself emperor of a new dynasty.
This decision turned out to be a strategic disaster, as it provoked the anger of many warlords across China. Even Yuan Shu's own subordinates were disillusioned by his declaration, leading nearly all of them to abandon him. Isolated, and with no allies left, Yuan Shu's power quickly crumbled.
By 199 AD, abandoned and weakened, Yuan Shu ultimately perished. In August 195 AD, Emperor Shan fled from the tyranny of Li Ju in Chang'an and embarked on a perilous year-long journey eastward in search of allies. By 196 AD, Emperor Shan successfully escaped the clutches of the warlords in Chang'an and came under the protection of Xiao Xiao. Recognizing the strategic importance of controlling the emperor, Xiao Xiao established the imperial court in Shukang, Henan. While Xiao Xiao now held de facto control over the emperor and the court, he carefully adhered to the formalities of the Han dynasty, presenting himself as a loyal minister. This move, advised by his top strategist Chan Yu, was crucial.
By supporting the legitimate emperor, Xiao Xiao gained the formal legal authority to command other warlords and compel them to fall in line, all under the guise of restoring the Han dynasty's power. This strategic decision allowed Xiao Xiao to consolidate his power, as many of the smaller warlords were either absorbed by larger forces or eliminated altogether. Xiao Xiao, whose territory later became the foundation for the state of Xiao Wei, began his rise to power by raising an army in 189 AD. Through a series of strategic maneuvers and battles, he gained control over Yan Province and defeated several factions of the Yellow Turban rebels. This success attracted the support of local military leaders like Shang Miao and Chen Gong, who joined his cause, helping him form his first substantial army. Xiao Xiao continued to expand his forces, incorporating around 300,000 former Yellow Turban rebels into his army, along with various clan-based military groups from Eastern Qing Province.
Beginning in 192 AD, he introduced military agricultural colonies, known as Tunshan, to sustain his army.
Although this system imposed a heavy tax on civilian farmers,
ranging from 40% to 60% of their agricultural production. The stability and protection offered by CAO's forces made it a welcome option in the chaotic times.
This policy became a key factor in his success.
In 200 AD, a plot to assassinate Cao was uncovered. Dongzheng, an imperial relative, had received a secret edict from Emperor Xian to kill Cao and had conspired with Liu Bei to carry out the plan.
However, Cao discovered the conspiracy and had Dongzheng and his Cao conspirators executed. With Liu Bei being the only one to escape, Liu Bei fled to the north to join Yuan Shao.
After dealing with internal affairs and rebellions, including those led by former Yellow Turbans, Cao turned his attention northward to Yuan Shao.
Yuan Shao, a noble of higher rank than Cao, had eliminated his northern rival Gongsun Zan and gathered a large army on the northern bank of the Yellow River. In the summer of 200 AD,
the two armies clashed in the decisive Battle of Guandu, near present-day Kaifeng. Although Cao's forces were heavily outnumbered, a successful raid on Yuan Shi's supply lines led to chaos in Yuan's ranks, forcing his army to retreat.
Cao seized the opportunity following Yuan Shi's death in 202 AD, which led to infighting among Yuan's sons.
In 204 AD, after the Battle of Yi, Cao captured the city of Yi, further consolidating his power. By the end of 207 AD, after a victorious campaign beyond the frontier against the Wuhuan, culminating in the Battle of White Wolf Mountain,
Cao had achieved complete dominance over the North China Plain. He now controlled the heartland of China, including the former territories of Yuan Shao, and ruled over half of the Chinese population. In 193 AD, Wang Zedyu, a general under Liu Biao, led a campaign against Sun Jian, who was a subordinate of Yuan Shu, and successfully killed him. The following year, Sun Jian's son, Sun Si, who was just 18 years old, joined Yuan Shu's military service. He was given command of the troops that had previously been led by his father.
Sun Si quickly made a name for himself in the south by defeating several warlords in Yang province, including Yu Liao, Wang Lang, and Yan Baihe. By 198 AD, at the age of 23, Sun Si declared his independence from Yuan Shu, who had recently proclaimed himself emperor. Sun Si established control over Danyang, Wu, and Kuaiji commanderies, which stretched from present-day Nanjing to the Hangzhou Bay and included outposts along the Fujian coast.
He continued to expand his territory westward through a series of successful campaigns.
By 200 AD, Sun Si had conquered Yujin Commandery located at present-day Lake Poyang in Jiangxi and Lujiang, north of the Yangtze River. In 200 AD, Sun Si was ambushed and assassinated by the former retainers of a rival he had previously defeated in Wu. Following his death, his younger brother, Sun Quan, who was just 18 years old, took over and quickly established his authority. By 203 AD, Sun Quan continued his brother's expansion efforts. In 208 AD, he defeated Huang Zedyu, Liu Biao's subordinate commander, near present-day Wuhan. With this victory, Sun Quan secured control over the territories south of the Yangtze, including the Wuhan area, the Poyang region, and Hangzhou Bay. His navy also established dominance over the Yangtze River. However, Sun Quan soon faced the looming threat of Cao's much larger armies. During the turbulent rule of Dong Zhuo over the Han government, Liu Biao was appointed as the governor of Jing province, with his capital at Shanjiang. His territory extended south to the Han and Yangtze rivers, while Sun Quan's lands bordered him to the east.
In the year 200, amid the intense struggle between Cao and Yuan Shao at Guandu, Liu Bei's forces were defeated by Cao's troops. Forced to flee, Liu Bei sought refuge with Liu Biao in Jing province. While in exile, Liu Bei maintained his loyal followers and formed new alliances within Liu Biao's circle.
It was during this time that he also met the brilliant strategist Zhu Liang. By the autumn of 208, Liu Biao passed away, and his youngest son, Liu Kong, succeeded him through political maneuvering, despite his elder brother Liu Qi being the rightful heir.
As Cao's army advanced southward, Liu Bei opposed surrender. However, Liu Kong eventually submitted to Cao, who then took control of Jing province and appointed his own officials. Meanwhile, Liu Qi joined forces with Liu Bei to defend the Yangtze River, but they were defeated by Cao's forces.
After the loss, they retreated and sought help from Sun Quan. Guan Yu, one of Liu Bei's most trusted generals, managed to secure most of Jing Province's fleet from the Han River.
Cao, now in control of the naval base at Jiangling, prepared to move eastward towards Sun Quan, while sending messengers demanding his surrender.
In 208, Cao launched a southern campaign with the aim of quickly unifying the empire under his control. Liu Kong, the governor of Jing Province, chose to surrender, allowing Cao to capture a large fleet at Jiangling.
However, Sun Quan, a powerful warlord in the southeast, refused to give in.
Sun Quan's advisor, Lu Xu, formed an alliance with Liu Bei, who had recently fled from the north.
Sun Quan then appointed Zhou Yu to command his navy, with the experienced General Cheng Piyu by his side.
Liu Qi, the second son of the late Liu Biao, also joined this alliance with his troops. That winter, the combined forces of Sun Quan and Liu Bei, totaling 50,000 men, faced off against Cao's 200 strong army at the Battle of Red Cliffs. After a brief skirmish, the allies devised a bold plan. Sun Quan's general, Huang Gai, pretended to surrender to Cao, but it was a ruse. Under the cover of this fake surrender, Huang Gai set fire to Cao's immobilized fleet, leading to a decisive victory for the allies.
Cao was forced to retreat north in disarray, and the victory at Red Cliffs ensured the survival of both Liu Bei and Sun Quan. This triumph laid the foundation for the establishment of the states of Shu and Wu, which would play key roles in the Three Kingdoms period of Chinese history.
In 209, Zhou Yu captured Jiangling, securing complete control of the Yangtze River for the southern forces. Meanwhile, Liu Bei, with the help of his brilliant advisor Zhu Zhiliang, took control of the southern parts of Jing Province by capturing the Xiang River basin.
However, after Zhou Yu's death in 210, Sun Quan struggled to maintain authority over Jiangling and was forced to cede the territory to Liu Bei.
In 211, Cao defeated a coalition of warlords in the Wei Valley, culminating in the Battle of Huayan and capturing the area around Chang'an. That same year, Liu Bei was invited by Liu Zhang to Yi Province to help defend against a northern threat, Shan Lu of Hanzhong. Once there, Liu Bei found supporters within Liu Zhang's court who preferred him as the ruler. A year later, Liu Bei turned against Liu Zhang, and by the summer of 214, Liu Zhang surrendered, allowing Liu Bei to establish his rule in Chengdu, Yi Province. In 215, Cao captured Hanzhong by launching an attack from Chang'an through the Qinling Mountains, threatening Liu Bei's southern territories. Meanwhile, Cao continued to amass power, becoming the Duke of Wei in 214 and the King of Wei in 217. He even forced Sun Quan to acknowledge his superiority, though it had little practical impact. After securing Yi Province, Liu Bei's growing power concerned Sun Quan, who had been locked in a stalemate with Cao in the southeast. Sun Quan, frustrated that Liu Bei had gained so much territory, demanded a larger share of the Xiang River basin. In 215, Sun Quan sent his officer Il Meng to capture the southern parts of Jing Province, leading to a counterattack by Liu Bei's general, Guan Yu. The two sides eventually agreed to use the Xiang River as the border between their territories. Around the same time, Sun Quan expanded his territory further south into what are now Zhejiang and Fujian. In 219, Liu Bei secured Hanzhong by defeating and killing Cao's general, Xia Huyan.
Cao sent reinforcements, but they failed to reclaim the territory.
With his northern borders secure, Liu Bei declared himself the king of Hanzhong. In the east, Sun Quan attempted to capture Hefei from Cao, but was unsuccessful. While Lu Xu was Sun Quan's chief commander in Jing Province, he maintained an alliance with Liu Bei as long as Cao remained a threat.
However, after Lu Xu's death in 217, Sun Quan appointed Il Meng, who changed this strategy.
In 219, Guan Yu launched a campaign up the Han River towards Fan, but failed to capture the city. Seizing the opportunity, Il Meng launched a surprise attack on Jiangling, capturing it. Guan Yu's forces crumbled, and he was eventually captured and executed on Sun Quan's orders.
This allowed Cao to regain control of the Han Valley, while Sun Quan took over all the territory east of the Yangtze Gorges. At the beginning of 220, Cao passed away and his son, Cao Pi, succeeded him. On December 11th, Emperor Xian abdicated, and Cao Pi declared himself the Emperor of Wei, establishing a new dynasty. In response, on May 15th to 21, Liu Bei declared himself the Emperor of Han, founding what became known as the Shu-Han state. Meanwhile, Sun Quan initially acknowledged Wei's authority and was granted the title of King of Wu.
By the end of 221, tensions between Shu and Wu escalated after the killing of Guan Yu and the loss of Jing province to Wu.
Liu Bei, seeking revenge, launched an invasion of Wu. In the spring of 222, Liu Bei personally led his forces along the Yangtze River. Sun Quan, in turn, appointed his skilled commander Liu Shan to defend Wu.
Despite advice from his subordinates, Liu Shan waited patiently until Liu Bei's forces were stretched thin along the Yangtze below the Yangtze Gorges. In the 6th month of 222, Liu Shan struck back, launching a series of fire attacks that threw the Shu army into chaos, forcing Liu Bei to retreat to Baidi, near present-day Fangjie.
Later in 222, Sun Quan broke ties with Wei, declaring Wu's independence.
In 223, Liu Bei died at Baidi, leaving his young son, Liu Shan, to inherit the throne.
Zhu Ziliang, Liu Bei's trusted advisor, took on the role of regent, effectively controlling the Shu government.
That same year, Shu and Wu restored their alliance, re-establishing peace between the two states. On June 23 to 29, Sun Quan declared himself the Emperor of Wu. The three kingdoms were now clearly defined. Shu controlled the upper Han Valley and the lands west of the Yangtze Gorges, separated from Wei by the Qinling Mountains. Wei held the Wei and Hui valleys, with strong defenses at Shushun and Hefei to protect their territory in Hui. Despite repeated attempts, Wu's military campaigns against Hefei and Shushun were unsuccessful, solidifying Wei's hold over the region. Wu controlled the entire Yangtze Valley, with a largely static frontier between Wei and Wu forming at the Lower Han Valley, leaving the land between the Hui and Yangtze rivers desolate and contested. In 223, Liu Shan became the ruler of Shu following the death of his father, Liu Bei.
From 224 to 225, Zhu Ziliang, now the leading figure in Shu, launched successful campaigns in the south, expanding Shu's territory as far as Lake Dian in Yunnan.
In 227, Zhu Ziliang moved Shu's main army to Hanzhong, setting the stage for a series of battles against Wei in the northwest. In 228, he ordered Zhao Yun to create a diversion by attacking from Ji Gorge, while Zhu Ziliang himself led the main force towards Maoqi.
However, the Shu vanguard, led by Ma Su, suffered a significant defeat at Jiating, forcing the Shu army to retreat. Over the next 6 years, Zhu Ziliang attempted several more offensives against Wei, but logistical challenges, especially supply issues, hindered their success.
In 234, Zhu Ziliang launched his final major campaign, leading his forces to the Battle of Wujing Plains, just south of the Wei River. Unfortunately, Zhu Ziliang passed away during the campaign, and without his leadership, the Shu army had to retreat. As Shu forces withdrew, Wei's general, Sima Yi, suspected that Zhu Ziliang's death was the reason for the retreat and ordered an attack.
However, Shu forces quickly counterattacked, causing Sima Yi to hesitate and allowing the Shu army to withdraw successfully. Sun Quan turned his attention to the southeastern aborigines known collectively as the Shanyu. After a series of successful campaigns, the most significant victory came in 224 when Zhuge ended a 3-year siege of Danyang. The surrender of 100,000 Shanyu tribesmen followed, with 40,000 of them drafted into the Wu army as auxiliary troops. At the same time, Shu faced challenges with the indigenous tribes in the southwest.
The Nanman people rebelled against Shu rule, capturing and looting cities in Yi province. Recognizing the need for stability, Zhu Ziliang led the Shu army in a 3-pronged attack against the Nanman. After several battles with the chieftain Ming Zhuo, Ming eventually submitted. As part of the peace agreement, a tribesman was allowed to reside in the Shu capital of Chengdu as an official, and the Nanmen formed their own battalions within the Shu army, while Zhu Ziliang led his northern campaigns. Wu remained on the defensive against repeated invasions from Wei. The region around Hefei saw many intense battles, especially after the Battle of Red Cliffs, forcing many residents to migrate south of the Yangtze River. Even after Zhu Ziliang's death, Wei continued its attacks on the southern Hui River region, but Wu's defenses, including the Rakshu fortress, held strong. Sun Quan's long reign is remembered as a period of prosperity for his southern state. Northern migrants and the settled Shanyu bolstered agricultural production, especially along the Yangtze River and in Kwaichi Commandery.
River transport flourished with the construction of the Zhedong and Jiangyan canals. Trade with Shu thrived, with Shu cotton flooding the markets and the development of Celadon pottery and metal industries. Sea voyages reached as far as Liaodong and Taiwan, and Wu merchants traded with Linyi, southern Vietnam, and the Funan Kingdom.
As the economy grew, so did the arts and culture, with the Yangtze Delta seeing the first Buddhist influences arriving from Luoyang.
The Eastern Wu era was also a significant period in Vietnamese history.
A local warlord named Chi Xai ruled Vietnam, then called Jiaozhou autonomously for 40 years, and he was later deified by Vietnamese emperors. Although he pledged loyalty to Eastern Wu, the Vietnamese opposed the rebellion led by his son, Shi Hui, against Wu.
When the Wu general El Dai betrayed Shi Hui and executed the entire Shi family, the Vietnamese were outraged.
In 248, the people of Jiaozhou and Juzhen commanderies rebelled. Wu sent Liu Yin to suppress the uprising, which he did through a mix of threats and persuasion.
However, the rebellion reignited under the leadership of Lady Tribe in Juzhen, who marched on Jiaozhou.
After several months of intense fighting, she was defeated and chose to commit suicide. In 226, Xiao Pai died at the age of 40, and his 22-year-old son, Xiao Yui, succeeded him. Although Xiao Yui was capable of managing the government, he appointed Minister Chen Quan, General Xiao Jun, General Xiao Xu, and General Sima Yi as regents.
Over time, the first three passed away, leaving Sima Yi as the senior minister and military commander.
In 226, Sima Yi successfully defended Xianjiang against an attack from Wu, marking his first field command.
The following year, he was appointed to manage military affairs along the Han River from Chang'an.
In 238, Sima Yi was sent to lead a campaign against Gongsun Yuan, the self-proclaimed ruler of the Yan Kingdom in Liaodong.
Sima Yi captured the capital, Xiaoping, and massacred Gongsun Yuan's government.
Between 244 and 245, General Guan Qiuqian launched a devastating invasion of Goguryeo, retaliating against a raid from 242.
The invasion destroyed Goguryeu's capital, Huangdao, forced its king to flee, and severely weakened the state.
Goguryeu's influence was so diminished that it was scarcely mentioned in Chinese records for the next 50 years. In 238, Xiao Yui died at 35 and was succeeded by his adopted son, the 7-year-old Xiao Fang. Before his death, Xiao Yui had appointed Xiao Xuan and Sima Yi as regents for Xiao Fang, though he had considered forming a regency council dominated by imperial family members.
Xiao Xuan assumed primary control of the court, while Sima Yi, despite holding the title of Grand Tutor, had little actual influence.
Fall of Shu.
After Zhu Zhiliang's death, leadership in Shu passed to Jiang Wen, Fei Yi, and Dong Yun.
However, by 258, corrupt eunuchs, led by Huang Hao, dominated the court, weakening the government.
Despite the efforts of Jiang Wei, Zhu Zhiliang's protege, Shu couldn't achieve any major victories.
Deng Ai led his troops through previously impassable terrain, catching Shu by surprise.
By winter, the capital Chengdu fell, and Emperor Liu Shan surrendered. This marked the end of the Shu state after 43 years.
Liu Shan was taken to the Wei capital, Luoyang, and given the title Duke of Anil, which was more of an honorary title with no real power.
Fall of Wei. In the late 30s, tensions grew between the imperial Xiao family and the powerful Sima family. After Xiao Zhen's death, a power struggle emerged between Xiao Xuan and the Grand Tutor, Sima Yi. Xiao Xuan tried to sideline Sima Yi by placing his own supporters in key positions. However, Sima Yi, a brilliant strategist and politician, strengthened his power through military victories and ultimately outmaneuvered Xiao Xuan.
In 238, Sima Yi crushed a rebellion in Liaodong, bringing the region under central control. Later, Sima Yi took advantage of a royal family excursion to carry out a coup in Luoyang, removing Xiao Xuan from power.
This led to a purge of Xiao Xuan's supporters, including the execution of the famous poet Zai Kang. Xiao Huan became the emperor in 260 after the failed coup of Xiao Emeo, who was killed. Sima Yi's son, Sima Zhao, inherited his father's title as Duke of Jin and started plotting to become emperor. Faced with opposition, Sima Yan, Sima Zhao's son, eventually forced Xiao Huan to abdicate in 266. Sima Yan then established the Jin dynasty, effectively ending the Wei dynasty and mirroring the earlier fall of the Han dynasty.
Fall of Wu.
After Sun Quan's death, his young successor, Sun Liang, struggled to maintain control over Wu. The state of Wu began to decline, especially after successful Wei campaigns in the southern Hui River region. The fall of Shu in 263 signaled a shift in power. Saiba Yan, who had overthrown the Wei emperor and founded the Jin dynasty in 266, turned his attention to Wu. After Emperor Sun Shu of Wu died, his ministers placed Sun Hao on the throne.
Although Sun Hao initially showed promise, he became a tyrant, alienating his court and weakening Wu's stability. In 269, Jin commander Yang Hu began preparing for an invasion of Wu by building a fleet and training marines. In 279, Jin launched a massive offensive, attacking Wu from multiple directions along the Yangtze River.
The Wu forces, unable to withstand the pressure, quickly collapsed.
In the third month of 280, the Wu capital of Jian in modern-day Nanjing fell, and Sun Hao surrendered.
This marked the end of the Three Kingdoms era and the start of a period of disunity that would last for the next 300 years.